Welcome to A New View. We are Restored Ministries and we're talking breaks because, as you know, lots of people are experiencing spring break this week. So we wanted to go and see what exactly is spring break, and this was really funny. Wikipedia says spring break is a vacational period in early spring at universities and schools which started back during the 1930s. I did not realize it went back that far. In the United States, and it's observed in some other mainly Western countries. This is funny. Spring break is It's frequently associated with extensive gatherings and righteous partying in warm climate locations such as Daytona Beach, Florida, and Cancun, Mexico, regardless of participants' educational standings. So that was funny that Wikipedia had such a broad definition of it, but you don't have to be partying in Daytona Beach, Florida, or Cancun, Mexico, or you can. You've been there, done that. But thesaurus.com also had an issue, well, not an issue, but it had some different things in an issue of thesaurus.com about taking a break. It's also known as kicking back, to breathe easy, calm down, cool off, hang loose, mellow out, settle back, take a breather, take a load off, take it easy. So whatever you're doing this week for spring break, that's what we want to talk about. How do we take a break?
That's right. How do we take? I was thinking about that, and it used to be naps for me. I used to be good at that, and I'm not anymore. Which I kind of miss, and hope that comes back around someday soon. But it really doesn't have to be kind of checking out in that respect, closing your eyes, or even like meditating in a dark room. It doesn't have to be any of that. So for me, I made a little to-do list. I love that I just called it a to-do list. That was totally Freudian. It is going to be this is the way I'm going to take
a break, but you got to do it to do it.
Oh, I love it. So mine are, I have a couple friends that have been popping into my head, and I don't take the time to sit down and contact them. That's going to be my break. I'm going to say, okay, I'm stopping whatever this is. I'm going to reach out this week. Okay, so check in on the friends. Maybe make that handmade card. It doesn't have to be a phone call that might turn into 3 hours of my time when I should be doing some paperwork that I've been procrastinating. That might be a true story. It can be organizing something, because for me, taking a break, even though it sounds like it's a physical activity, this break, organizing something would be an action, which a lot of them actually are. But that is so fueling for me. Like, if my kitchen is a mess, my brain is like, I have to, pick it up. So
that's what a lot of people do during spring break is they do spring cleaning. Not everybody's jetting off to, beaches and vacations or the mountains to ski. Some are saying, hey, we're getting this house in order. We've done that before.
Organizing closets sounds way less exciting than going skiing, but that's probably what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But it's so good when it's done.
It is. It's going to feel good. For me, music is really refueling. So I have stuff popping in my head all the time. Just actually playing the song that's running through my head, get it like out and it out of me and into me. It's a good one. Standing in the sunshine, 5 minutes in the sun. It's not only is it refueling, it stokes your creativity. It brings you vitamin D. It makes everything better. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
and my last one here, I love this because in elementary school, I think we all learned, my calling was, the teacher called to tell me something about he wasn't focusing. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, I was talking about such and such, and I called on him, and he didn't know what I was talking about. And what he said was, we bought a Jeep on the weekend. And I was like, oh, so he was basically daydreaming. Like, he was thinking off about something he enjoyed. you know? But we learned at a young age in elementary school, we learned not to let your mind wander. And when it does, you snap it back to attention. So my other option as a great way of taking this break is daydream on purpose. No, it's not, because your mind will wander all day long. You have so much going on. You're always going to be thinking about something else. Something's going to pop into your head. But on purpose, sit down and close your eyes and go somewhere you want to be. Don't just go where life takes you.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Scheduled daydreaming.
I like that. And taking a break, that's what we're kind of blending this week's episode of taking a break, because of course it is spring break for many of us, but also that taking a break is what refuels us, recharges us, like we talked last week about rest, but also that it needs to get our creative juices flowing.
I agree. For me, when I think of taking a break, our kids are still I feel like they're still small. Well, Hunter's 7 and Sophia's 11, and we follow a schedule. I mean, and a lot of that is for us and because of things that they have going on. And so a break for us is like no schedule, like
Yes.
having
I love that.
a looser schedule. And I love to wake up early, but I also want to have some time for sleep. And so it's good to not have to have the regular schedule. And lately I feel like the Lord has been talking about being creative, you know, that we're all designed to be creative. And it took me back when we started talking about doing this episode. I literally remembered this book that I read, like, it's probably been a couple years, The Gifts of Imperfection. I know you guys, we've talked about this book. It's Brene Brown. And there's a section in there, and I literally, of all the stuff I've read in the last couple years, I believe the Holy Spirit brought me right back to exactly what I was thinking of. Because Brene talks about, she's done research on, this sounds crazy, but on stuff as far as like creativity. And she said, that she believes there's no such thing as creative people and non-creative people. There are only people who use their creativity and people who don't. And I was like, I'm always talking about, and not always, but I'll make reference to, I'm not really good at that. Like something I see on Pinterest, or I've got friends that are super, super good at doing things that they see on Pinterest.
Right.
And I attribute that to being like, they're just really creative, you know, and I'll say, I'm just not that creative. I'm not going to say that anymore. No. And she says, I love this. As far as my own story, the older I got, the less value I put on creativity and the less time I spent creating. When people ask me about crafting or creating, I relied on the standards. I'm not the creative type. On the inside, I was really thinking, who has the time for painting and scrapbooking and photography when the real work of achieving and accomplishing needs to be done?
And that's that perfectionism mindset. That's always saying everything has to be perfect before I'll rest. Everything has to be perfect.
Or that I just need to be achieving. I have to do something valuable. But who's putting the valuable label on it?
Right.
Who's saying that what you are or aren't doing is of value or not? So I loved that. I thought that was really, really amazing. And it reminds me of how we are the way God designed us. I mean, He says in His Word that we are co-creators with Christ. And I believe, and I mean, I know it means other things, but I see that as we are creative just like God. And look around of everything that He created. And that just, I mean, you look at your children, think of the things that they've spent time creating, and you're like, you save those pictures they've drawn or that artwork, and we have all of that still, you know?
Imagine if we were given free will without creativity.
Yeah, and you know, that's really interesting because, you know, my family comes from a long line of being very artistic. My dad was an artist, my identical twin, my daughter, I have several nieces that are very artistic. And I remember sitting at my dad's, you know, artist table, and he'd be like, Michelle, I said, I like the color books with the big lines, with the single objects. I can color those all day long.
Yeah.
But you get with the detail. I'm not much into that. But I'm very detailed and organized in other areas of life. So then I would make jokes and say, you know, I'm not artistic or I'm not creative. And then I changed the mindset and said, I'm
so
artistic and creative in other ways. I mean, I can create in the kitchen all day long.
Yeah.
All day long.
I've eaten those creations.
All day long. You know, just, you know, making little images, you know, for the ministry or different, you know, so I do have a creative eye.
Yes.
And things, or just words, you know. I think sometimes our creativity is how God will have us weave words together.
Yes.
You know, or decorating. So everybody's creative flow is differently. And I just want to share this great little quote that I have a friend on Facebook, Jewel McChesney. Sorry if I butchered your name. I'm so sorry. Jewel. But she is very artistic and she sells all of her items. They're really awesome. But today she had a message on her Facebook, and it said, a creative mess is better than idle tidiness. Any day. I think that is so important, because how do kids really start to experiment? No, it's, you know, playing with the Play-Doh, it's playing with paints, it's coloring, it's building things, it's doing all those different things. And if we're so worried about a mess, we kind of squash that, you know, that flow. But everybody's little vein of creativity, I love it, is different.
And it isn't even just on kids, because you could live by yourself and still do that to yourself.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
That's a great point.
Yeah. I don't want to drag it all out, or
Or I don't want to have to clean up the mess after. Brene Brown said one other really good thing that I really liked. And when she was discussing creativity in her book, the chapter that she talked about, she also brought up comparison.
Yep.
And she tied it in really, really well. And one of the quotes that she said that helps you tie in creativity and getting rid of comparison is, the only unique contribution that we will ever make in this world will be born out of our creativity.
Right.
That is awesome. So we have got to make time to be creative, and asking God, even if you're like, oh, I'm not very creative, show me how I'm creative.
Yes,
Lord.
and he's a co-creator with it. I mean, we were making jokes yesterday about the book cover, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll get out some paints, and I'm a co-creator with Christ. I'm going to need you to help me create some things. But recently, I stopped, and I really felt like the Lord was saying to take that break, and I got out the little paints, and I got the little watercolor pens, and I have this really great little color book that has Bible verses on it, and I created several of those, gave them to friends and things like that. But I'm telling you, that creative moment to just, and I got out of the lines. It wasn't perfect.
You did what?
I did, yeah. But I wasn't so focused on that. So I think that's my thing, is this, just to take that holy pause we're always talking about, taking that break and doing something creative that you like.
And I kind of just want to define creativity real quick, because it really isn't just about being a crafter. And I know that can be a sticking point for a lot of people when thinking about this, but it is cleverness, it is your genius, it is your imagination, ingenuity, inspiration, inventiveness, originality, and resourcefulness. There are many ways.
Yes.
Everyone has more than one way that they're creative. You just need to think about what that is.
Tap into it.
And taking a break, we were talking about, because it is spring break, and we're talking about ways we can take breaks because we want to fuel those creative juices, I guess, to get them going. But, taking a break is not an idle act. I mean, that's what Kim was talking about yesterday. It's actually doing something that maybe you've been wanting to do for a while, or that you've been putting off, like the whole spring cleaning, clean out your closet.
Even those little good things you think about doing that aren't going to make a to-do list, because they're not those I have tos, but it would be like, I would love, there's the 10,000 Reasons song. It would be kind of easy, I think, to try to play on the piano, and it's in the back of my mind. I would love for me to sit down for 5 minutes at the piano. I'd probably get that song, but I haven't done it, so it's kind of like a wait, but it would be a perfect break.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah.
So that's great. So taking a break is just not being idle, because some of us, it is being idle. It is kicking our feet up or toes in the sand or whatever it is. But other people, it's doing those things we've been wanting to, or that we've been putting off, and that we haven't really been doing.
That's right. And enjoying it.
Enjoy it.
Do what refuels you.
Do what refuels you. That's great. Right. And so we hope that you will share your view of a new view. When you see this video, think of some things that you're creative in, ways that you have those creative things, that you're a co-creator with Christ. And don't worry so much of what it looks like to somebody else, or compare yourself to someone else, because we're all unique. Taking a break doesn't have to be idle. Do what you want to do. Do what you've been putting off, or do nothing at all. But we hope that you enjoy this spring break. Take care.